Hey, Happy New Year, everyone. On the bed tonight, we have Bushmills single malt Irish whiskey, 10 year. Now, I've had this before. In fact, when it first came out, they introduced this about, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, something like that. Or at least that's the first time I had ever seen it. And I think they also have a 12 year, or they used to have a 12 year. So, but, this is everyone knows the Bushmill name. Black Bush is a phenomenal Irish whiskey. Bushmills regular is it's good. You know what I mean? Not bad. I'd probably prefer Jameson's to Bushmill regular, but it's fine. But Bushmill single malt, this is something a little bit different. Obviously, it's still triple distilled. It says it somewhere, triple distillation in Ireland. So it's still triple distilled like an Irish whiskey, but it's a single malt. So apparently, maybe they're trying to come up with something a little more high end, a little more Scotchish. And obviously, it's got an age statement. So it's 10 years aged. It's a long time to spend in a barrel, especially for an Irish whiskey. Usually you start getting up to red breast, and green spot and yellow spot. Those are some of the older Irish whiskeys, age stated Irish whiskeys. But this one's a single malt. So let's have a whiff of it. Oh yeah, off the rip you get honey, you get vanilla, there's a little bit of dried fruit in there too, almost like a peachish or some kind of pitted fruit, like dates or peach or raisins, something like that. Very good, right off the rip. Very pleasant nose. You get the malt, that's for sure. But I have a feeling with it being triple distilled, that malt is dialed back a little to like a single malt scotch, you know what I mean? That extra distillation process probably walks back a lot of the heavy notes, you know what I mean? It's very pleasant on the nose. Yeah, fruity, vanilla, honey. Yeah, very, very pleasant smelling nose. Definitely some good legs on the glass, too. That stuff is sticky. All right, down the hatch. Yep, you get the honey, you get the vanilla. I don't get as much of the fruit flavor, like you get in the nose. The nose smells a little more fruity than the palate tastes. And very smooth. Typical Irish whiskey, triple distilled, extra aged like this. It's smooth. Yeah, it's a pleasant drink. Uh, it's not as smooth as something like a Glenmorangie 10. I don't think it has quite the character of a Scotch single malt. You know what I mean? So if you prefer a single malt, well, this is not bad. I think it's a little tamed back. It doesn't have like the nuance and the character of a lot of different single malts, especially in this price range. I think this was like the mid 40s, somewhere around there. Low to mid 40s. I think I paid for it. They actually have a pretty good price at my local store. I've seen it as high as like $50 a bottle. They might be trying to price this back because I've noticed it's not moving off the shelf like it did when they first released it. But something like a Glenmorangie 10, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of another Scotch that would be in that $40 to $45, something like that price range. Or even an Old Band Little Bay. Like Old Band Little Bay is probably like $50. You know what I mean? Those single malt scotches have some character to them. You know what I mean? Very smooth, very character. It's got a lot of nuance and depth to the flavor. You know what I mean? And to the nose, to the smell test too. But this isn't bad. You know what I mean? This is a very, very approachable, very Irish, but slightly different because, most Irish whiskeys will use unmalted barley as well as malted barley. That's like the tradition of the Irish. And then, of course, a triple distillation as opposed to the Scotch using double distillation. So it creates a smoother, less characteristic type of vibe to it. So if you're expecting this to taste like a Scotch single malt, you'll probably be disappointed. It does not taste except maybe a very bland Scotch single malt, you know what I mean? Like maybe some of the old lowland stuff or Even the Highland stuff has a lot more character than this has, but it's good. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying it doesn't really. Probably the triple distillation cuts into a little of that character you would expect from a single malt, especially when it gets up into this age range. And this also is finished in, it's double cast finished. So it tells you on there somewhere that maybe it's on the back. It tells you it's cast in both ex bourbon and sherry casks. So this has seen a sherry cask, but for how long? I'm skeptical. You can tell by the color that's more of like, especially after 10 years. So maybe they threw it in a sherry cask for, maybe a year, maybe less. Who even knows? There's not a whole lot of color there. And I believe Bushmills makes sextons too, which I really like. Sextons is a low end Irish, well, not low end. It's like, $28, $30 a bottle. But that's aged entirely in sherry casks. So I would say, even the Sextons, even though the age statement isn't nearly as high as this, has a little more of that sherry character to it. So, all right, enough said. I'll give this a 7.7. It's good. It's very good, very smooth, tasty, but it's unique. It doesn't really taste like Irish whiskey, but it doesn't taste like Scotch whiskey either. You know what I mean? So I kind of think it's good. It's smooth. It's very approachable. It's very drinkable, but it kind of exists on its own. It's kind of like out there on a ledge all by itself. It's not really a flavor you'd associate with Irish whiskey, but it's not really something you'd associate with Scotch single malts either. It's just kind of Bushmill single malt, you know what I mean? Which doesn't make it bad, but it makes it unique, you know what I mean? It's kind of a unique whiskey. I haven't really ever had one quite like this. And I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't get a lot of that sherry. Maybe on the nose I get a little bit of that sherry cask finish, but to be honest with you, on the taste, on the palate, not really. But it's good. Yeah, it's smooth, it's approachable. It's not outrageously expensive. Like I said, tops I paid like $45, but I think it was more like $43.99, something like that, $44.99, something like that. So it's not tremendously expensive, but it definitely doesn't fall in the cheap whiskey category. Do I think you can get better whiskeys than this? Yes. I think Glenmorangie 10 Scotch is better than this. Hell, I think even maybe Blackbush is a little bit more approachable than this. It has more character. I think the Blackbush must spend more time in the sherry cask. So, and Blackbush you can get, if I'm thinking right, maybe $32, $34. So, maybe $10 cheaper than this. You don't get the age statement. You don't get the 10-year age statement. But I think you get a better finished whiskey. I think Blackbush has a little bit more character than this if you're looking for depth of flavor. But if you're looking for a solid triple distilled single malt that has some character but is smooth and not offensive, there's certainly nothing here that's offensive, but there's nothing that stands out either. You know what I mean? It has no real je ne sais quoi, as the French would say. There's nothing standing out to you. You know what I mean? It's just kind of good and, not particularly overly flavorful. But it's very good. You could taste the malt. You could taste honey, vanilla. You get some flavors, but they're not standing out. It's not over-the-top character. So I gave it a 7 point, whatever I gave it, 7.7. I'll stand by that. I think it's good. It's a solid whiskey. It's definitely smooth enough. It's not going to bite you. So with that being said, Bushmills Single Malt 10. The Not Cheap Whiskey Review, number 4. It gets a 7.7. Is it drinkable? Yes. Do I think there are better bangs for the buck at $44 or $45? Yes. Would I recommend it? Sure. If you like Irish whiskey and you're interested in a 10-year and trying to see what a 10-year single malt Irish whiskey tastes like, triple distilled, it's definitely worth a try. If you ever see it in the store, pick up a bottle, try it. You won't be disappointed. You won't be, over the top about it, but you won't be disappointed by it either. There's nothing here that leaves you going, wow, I got ripped off on this bottle. No, it's a very good, older Irish whiskey. Very, very subtle. You know what I mean? That's how I put it, subtle. So, hey, with that being said, Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you enjoyed your New Year. Hope you enjoyed your holidays. I look forward to another year of doing reviews and moonshine videos. So, take care of yourselves. Hey, love yourself, love your friends, and love not cheap whiskey. All right, I'll see you guys later. Good night.